At the banquet, I had a long-awaited reunion with my childhood sweetheart, and we had a great conversation. He looked at the ring on my ring finger and asked, "Are you happy in your married life?" I smiled and said, "It's just an arranged marriage. There's no such thing as being happy or unhappy." When I got home at night, Leo tormented me fiercely. "Lynn, are you happy? Are you happy? Huh?" I was trembling all over. "Yes. Happy. I just returned from a business trip." A colleague asked if he could take me home. I politely declined with a smile. "My husband is coming to pick me up." I found Leo's car in the high-speed rail parking lot. When I opened the passenger door, I saw a young girl sitting there. I heard some time ago that there was a new person in Leo's company. A recent college graduate who directly became Leo's secretary. Presumably it's her. I was stunned. But the girl greeted me very naturally. "Hello, sister-in-law." She showed no intention of getting up at all. Leo in the driver's seat was on the phone and looking through the documents in his hand. Unnamed anger was about to burst out of the top of my head. I was just about to tell her to get out. But in the next second I saw the bracelet on her left wrist that wasn't completely covered by the cuff. At the beginning of this month, Leo spent $1.1 million at an auction to buy it. The bracelet is in a retro style, and not the style I like. I thought he bought it to give me as a gift for our first wedding anniversary. But for our first anniversary gift, he gave me a bracelet from a luxury brand. Not this one. Oh, so he bought it for her. My anger disappeared completely after seeing that bracelet. The stance of being the rightful person just now disappeared without a trace. I forced a smile at those girls. "Hello." Then I sat in the back row. This really can't be blamed on me for being spineless. I also really want to be like the heroine in novels. Standing up straight. Kicking the scumbag on the left and beating the mistress on the right. But I can't. For me and Leo, it sounds nice to say it's an arranged marriage. To put it bluntly, it's actually our family climbing up. To put it nicely, he is my husband. To put it unpleasantly, he is actually my boss. Our entire Lin family lies by relying on Leo. What right do I have to make the boss, and the woman the boss likes, unhappy? After Leo finished his call and saw me sitting in the back row, he was surprised and said, "Why are you sitting in the back? You go sit in the back," he said to the little secretary. Through the right side mirror, I saw the girl pout slightly with dissatisfaction. I pretended to be generous and said, "It's okay. The back is still more spacious. It just so happens that I can take a nap." I thought to myself that if he insisted on me sitting in the front row again, it would mean that he likes me. But he didn't. He took a look at the little secretary in the passenger seat and then started the car. Leo sent the little secretary home first. I remember he also has a property in this community. After returning home and washing up, I sat in front of the dressing table and took care of my black hair. People outside all say that he is indifferent. He is also known for being ruthless in business. When my friends knew that I was going to marry him at the beginning, they were all worried for me. But in the past year of marriage, Leo has been very good to me. He remembers every important day, and can even remember my menstrual period. I was thus caught in the illusion of love he gave me. I fell in love with him. And I also thought he loved me. Until today. I was harshly splashed with a bucket of cold water by reality. I was only on a business trip for a few days. And someone is already trying to take my place. I gave a self-deprecating smile. I could have been replaced originally. For him, I am not the only one. I looked at him in the dressing mirror. Perhaps he had treated that girl so gently before. He in the mirror also looked at me. "Are you listening?" Only then did I realize that he was talking to me just now. I was immersed in my own thoughts, and didn't hear a single word. I only vaguely heard words like half-brother and half-sister, and stepmother. Yes. I nodded mechanically to show that I was listening. Seeing my tired look, he came to me. "What? Are you tired from the business trip?" "Yes. A little." "If you're too tired, then resign." "Huh? I don't want you to be so hard." And I also want to see you as soon as I get home. He picked up a lock of my hair and wound it around his index finger. Then put it under his nose and smelled it gently. I was flushed red by this action. I pulled the hair back from his hand. He then grabbed my hand again and kissed my wrist with some reverence. Leo. The tingling sensation from my wrist made me involuntarily call out his name. He looked up at me. His eyes filled with naked desire. But I really don't have the mood tonight. I avoided his eyes. I took the high-speed train for several hours today, and I'm a bit tired. Okay. You go to sleep first. I'll take a shower. After I had been asleep for a while, he got into bed. His cold body was close to mine. I don't want to resign. His breath blew on the back of my neck. He held me tighter with one hand. Okay. Do whatever makes you happy. Go to sleep. But, big brother, I can't sleep at all when you hold me so tightly. I wriggled in his arms for a while. The sound of his breathing became heavier and heavier. Can't sleep? Do something else before sleeping? I was so scared that I didn't dare to move anymore and slept in this strange position all night. I thought to myself that Leo still gave me some face after all. That little girl never appeared again. The slap in the face really comes too soon. That night, Leo said he would be on a business trip for a few days and tossed me around all night. Before leaving in the morning, he pulled me and kissed and nibbled on me for a while before going out. Just when I was immersed in the illusion of love he gave me again. The little secretary was frantically knocking on the door outside. Hello, sister-in-law. I'm here to get some documents for General Manager Lee. General Manager Lee found that he had left a document on the way to the airport. I need to rush to deliver it to him now. She rattled off a bunch. I didn't even react to what she was saying before she rushed in directly. Familiar with the way, she went to Leo's study. I stood at the door full of astonishment, and a chill slowly rose from the soles of my feet. She quickly ran out of the study holding a document. Goodbye, sister-in-law. She disappeared outside the door like a gust of wind. I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. Leo is never forgetful. How could he possibly leave a document behind? It's obvious that taking advantage of Leo's absence, she came to forcefully present herself. Tears seemed to have their own consciousness and popped out of my eyes. I sat lost in the living room for a long time. The sun moved from east to west. I wiped away my tears and took out my phone. Mom, I want to eat the crucian carp soup you made. 3 in the evening. Mom made a table full of dishes waiting for me to come home. Since I got married, only Grandpa and Mom have been in this family. Before I even took a bite of the dish, Grandpa started to ask questions. Why did you come back alone? Where's Leo? I put down my chopsticks. He is on a business trip today. Grandpa snorted. I know that he has never liked me since I was a little girl. It's okay to be a girl. But the major I study is language and literature, which is of no use to the family at all. My dad passed away early, and the family's business is supported by Grandpa and Mom. I originally wanted to study some finance or management, but I have no interest in these at all. Mom held me in her arms. My daughter only needs to do what she likes to do. I gave birth to you to let you feel the world. My mom has always loved me very much. She always gives me freedom as much as possible. After graduating from abroad, I became a lecturer in an ordinary college. I like this job very much. But time and again, I heard Grandpa scolding Mom in the study. Look at your good daughter. What's the use? It's rare that Leo takes a fancy to our family. He is willing to form an alliance with us through marriage. If she doesn't marry into the Lee family, our family will be finished. Grandpa's walking stick knocked on the floor loudly. Do you want to watch the Lin family be ruined in your hands? Mom argued with him rationally. She didn't want to sacrifice my happiness. I think one can't be too selfish. Having lived a carefree and willful life for 26 years, it's time to repay the family. If my marriage and love can sell for a good price, it's also good. When I said I was willing to marry Leo, Mom couldn't stop crying. She cried and said sorry to me. She said she had bought a ticket to go abroad. As long as I was willing, I could leave tomorrow. I held back my tears. Mom, marrying Leo is what I am willing to do. 4. You should fulfill your duty as a wife and don't make Leo unhappy. Don't forget your responsibility. Grandpa kept repeating these words. I lost my appetite completely. If I had known this, I wouldn't have come back. At night, I slept next to Mom. Is there something on your mind? Mom asked me. Are you not happy with Leo? Is he not good to you? I shook my head. He is very good to me. He is really very good to me. Except that he doesn't love me that much. Mom can always see through my thoughts. She touched my head. If you are not happy and want to leave, Mom will support you. I buried my head in Mom's arms and tried desperately not to shed tears. 5. The next morning, I went back home. I really can't stand Grandpa's nagging. If I can't get a divorce now, then I'll just guard my heart. At noon, he sent me a message saying that he would be home tonight. So soon? Isn't he going to be away for 3 to 5 days? I went to the bathroom and turned on the shower. The icy cold water made me tremble uncontrollably all over. I kept telling myself over and over again, don't love him. Don't love him. Can a lie become true after being told 10,000 times? Right? After taking a cold shower for half an hour. In the afternoon, I finally got sick as I wished. I sent a message to Leishan saying that I had a cold and didn't want to infect him. So I slept in the guest bedroom. 6 at night. I felt cold all over and slept very restlessly. I felt someone pick me up from the bed and then gently put me down after a while. Did you go to sleep without taking any medicine? That person said softly in my ear. I've only been away for less than 2 days. And you got sick. I really want to turn you into a little person and put you in my pocket. That way, I can take you with me wherever I go. After sleeping drowsily for a while, I heard two people talking again. Madame is fine. She just has a fever due to catching a cold. After taking the medicine and the fever subsides, she will be fine. Thank you, Dr. Ku. Thank you for coming over so late. It's my duty. A capsule was stuffed into my mouth. There were moist lips pressed against mine and water was passed to me. That person even bit the tip of my tongue. I was extremely cold. At some point, there was a warm object on the bed. I couldn't help but cling to it. You're still not behaving even when you're sick. That person grabbed my hand and kissed me fiercely. My nose was stuffy and it was even harder to breathe now. When I felt like I was about to pass out, he finally let me go. Forget it. This time you owe me. 7. When I woke up the next day, I found that I was actually sleeping in the master bedroom. You're awake? Leo walked to my side. His hand touched my forehead. The fever has subsided. Drink some porridge, and then take the medicine. He helped me up and brought the porridge in front of me but didn't give me a spoon. Does this mean he wants to feed me? I was completely powerless. My mind was still in a daze and I couldn't refuse him. He fed me a small half bowl of porridge spoon by spoon. Finally, he wiped my mouth with his fingertip. There was clearly tissue right there by the bedside. After taking the medicine, I slept until noon. Finally, I felt alive again. I got out of bed and left the bedroom. I found him typing on the computer in the living room. Didn't you go to work? He came over and pulled me to the sofa, making me sit on his lap and wrapping his arms around me. If my wife is sick, can a husband go to work at ease? Wouldn't I become a jerk then? Aren't you already? I rolled my eyes in my heart. I wanted to get up but he held me and wouldn't let me move. Is there too much going on at school? You're so tired that you're sick. Isn't it good to resign and do things you like at home? In the future, wherever I go, I can still take you with me. Why does he bring this up again? When I was sick, my temper also flared up. You're so annoying. Why do you always talk about this? I've told you I won't resign, I said impatiently. First he was a bit surprised. And then he laughed. You're angry? This is the first time you're angry at me. It's very cute. There was a hint of blush on his face. No. Does this person have some kind of serious problem? Why is he so happy when being scolded by others? I pushed him away and got up. I'm going to rest. He stopped me at the door of the guest bedroom. Why sleep here? I waved his hand away. I'm afraid of infecting you. Let's sleep in separate rooms for now. I quickly entered the room and locked the door. Secretary Lee has felt that life is very difficult recently. Extremely difficult. Because his boss has been in a very bad mood recently. Not just bad. It can be said to be extremely poor. The head of the business department paced for 10 minutes with a document in hand but didn't dare to go in. Stop walking. You're making me dizzy. Secretary Lee rubbed his temples. You think I want to? The boss has been extremely angry recently. If you don't know where you did something wrong, you will be scolded harshly. The business department manager has sharp eyes. He saw Yolanda's figure from afar. He quickly chased after her and called her. He also has sharp ears. He has long heard that the new little secretary has a close relationship with the boss. Sister Cherry, didn't you want to come to our business department for training? You help me take this document to the boss. Tell me which division you want to enter. I'll transfer you there immediately. He is making big promises. Under normal circumstances, Yolanda would definitely agree. But now she doesn't dare either. I'll still follow Secretary Lee for now and learn. She quickly ran away. She was I'm not sure what this word means in English. Recently her brother is in a bad mood. It must be that her sister-in-law is unhappy. If her sister-in-law is unhappy, it's 9 out of 10 because she went to get the document and made her sister-in-law misunderstand. Not many people know her identity yet. She wants her brother to announce her identity in a formal occasion. Last time she didn't get up and give up the passenger seat. She was punished by her brother to sort out materials in the databank that sees no daylight for a month. Studying in Germany wasn't this miserable. 9 Leo still doesn't know that it was Yolanda who went to get the materials. That morning, he was so indulged in the kiss that he forgot something for the first time. After he found out, he quickly asked Secretary Lee to go get it. Secretary Lee was just busy with other things at that moment and couldn't get away. Yolanda volunteered to help him out of a pressing situation. Leo still thought it was because he made Lynn leave recently that made Lynn unhappy. He is very worried. It seems that his wife loves her job more. Because of her job, she even wants to sleep in a separate room from him. Ken, after my cold got better, I still found all kinds of excuses to sleep in a separate room from him. I had to prepare lessons, study materials, stay up late to write papers, correct homework, and so on. But every morning the next day, I would find myself in the master bedroom. Forget it. It doesn't matter where I sleep as long as I don't have an intimate relationship with him. I restrain my liking for him. He cheated and had an affair. I make myself not care. Maybe the more women he has outside, the more guilt he will have towards me, and the more care he will give to our Lin family. But why does my heart feel empty? I unconsciously cut the steak on the plate repeatedly with a knife. What's wrong? Only then did I come to my senses. Without looking up, I said, "Nothing. Not to your taste? I remember you like medium rare filet mignon." I didn't answer. Still angry? Does he know? I won't mention asking you to resign again. Does he think I'm angry because of this? I've never taken this matter to heart. How could I resign just because he said it a few times? It seems that he still doesn't know about his little secretary coming to forcefully demand. I forced a smile at him. I saw him and smiled, seemingly relieved. He still doesn't know that I have cursed him as a scumbag 1,001 times in my heart. There is a very important banquet tomorrow night. We need to go together. It seems that it is really important. He knows that I don't like such occasions. The number of times he has asked me to attend can be counted on one hand. I nodded. 11 When I appeared in the living room, wearing a deep V dress the next day, his face suddenly turned red. He coughed lightly and took off his suit and put it on my shoulder. It's very beautiful. But next time, just wear it for me alone. At the banquet, he still insisted that I wear the suit. Lynn, your bracelet wouldn't be the one with only 5 in the world, right? A female friend took my hand and looked at the bracelet again and again. I don't know. Leo gave it to me. Oh my God. This is so romantic. Is this called romantic? Then he gave a bracelet worth 1.1 million to that little secretary. Wouldn't that be extremely romantic? Look. Look. The female friend indicated in a certain direction with her chin. Miss Jiang's mouth is almost crooked with anger. Only then did I notice that the chain on Miss Jiang's hand was exactly the same as mine. President Li is so romantic. Last time you said Miss Jiang's bracelet was really beautiful. And President Li got it for you. There are only 5 in the world. It's impossible to buy it without putting in some effort. I envy you. Did I say that? I suddenly remembered that when Miss Jiang showed off her bracelet to everyone in a low-key way on some occasion. I did say. It's beautiful. I like it. This is just a common phrase I often say to perfunctory students. Could it be? He thought I liked it. So he specially bought it and gave it to me? I looked back at Leo, who was communicating with others. He seemed to feel my gaze and turned his head and smiled at me. My heart suddenly pounded. Lynn. He is good to you and also good to other women. I said to myself in my heart. 12 I really don't like this kind of occasion. Full of toasts and a life of luxury. When I was bored, I unexpectedly saw a somewhat familiar figure on the balcony. Ethan? I called his name uncertainly, although I heard that he had returned to the country recently. After so many years. I wasn't sure if this person was him. He turned around. Lynn? He smiled in surprise. I can't believe I see you here. Childhood friend. The last time we met was after graduating from high school. It's almost been 10 years. The Qi family and our family have been friends for generations. When the Lin family was at its most prosperous, the parents of both families also joked about an engagement. But their family's business is getting bigger and bigger. And our family is struggling to maintain after my father passed away. Such a joke naturally can't be taken seriously. After many years of separation, we meet again. Both he and I are very happy. Talking about the past events of childhood and youth makes us very happy. I remember you once liked me. He teased. I did like him. But it was very short-lived. The teenager was bright and sunny, and could make girls happy. We grew up together since childhood. And he treated me differently from others. It's hard not to be moved. But I saw him kissing different girls on different occasions. That short-lived adolescent infatuation quickly disappeared. Yes. But it was just for a moment. I admitted generously. He smiled. How is your married life? Are you happy? His eyes fell on the ring, on my ring finger. Oh. It's an arranged marriage. There's no happiness or unhappiness. He nodded and said again. If we had known that we would both be forced to marry people we don't like, we might as well. It turns out that he is back this time to get married. Would Auntie be willing? I couldn't help but interrupt. He was stunned for a moment. Aunt Qi has a very strong career ambition. Our family has declined. Naturally. She won't be happy. 13 Lin. Leo's icy voice suddenly sounded behind me. I couldn't help shivering. Leo. Who is this? I was about to make an introduction. He pulled me out of the balcony and directly out of the banquet hall. Leo. You're hurting me. He ignored me, pulled me to the parking lot, and directly stuffed me into the car. The air conditioning in the car was on full blast. Even wearing his coat, I felt cold. He glanced at me and raised the temperature in the car a bit. I didn't know you had such a childhood sweetheart. His tone was unfriendly. It can't be considered a childhood sweetheart. We just lived in the same yard before. After not contacting for more than 10 years. Can it be called a childhood sweetheart? You still liked him? He asked with a smile. But there was a coldness in his voice. So boring. He is flirtatious outside, and doesn't know how many lovers he has. Now he is questioning my youthful feelings. Forget it. He is the boss. He is the boss. Yes. As soon as I finished speaking, he suddenly stepped on the accelerator. After returning home, we both washed up separately and neither of us spoke. I lay on the bed pretending to be asleep. I heard him say sarcastically next to me, "So you have been so indifferent to me during this time. It's not because you are angry with me, but because your childhood sweetheart is back? This person can always find reasons from others for everything. Why am I angry? Don't you have any idea?" He really has no idea. I don't want to talk to him. I felt that he stared at my back for a long time before turning off the light and going to sleep. From that day on, it seemed that we started a cold war. This person is really strange. Although we haven't communicated recently. As long as there is nothing special. He still comes home for dinner every night. He doesn't sleep in a separate bed from me either. We lie back to back, each occupying one side of the bed. 14 After finishing class at noon, I went home. Leo was actually there. I walked over and saw a wedding invitation clearly placed on the coffee table. I opened it. It was Ethan's wedding invitation. The bride is the daughter of a famous snack tycoon. It's also a well-matched marriage. I thought. Don't forget on Saturday noon. After saying that, he went out. This guy wouldn't have come back specially to show me someone else's wedding invitation. Would he? Ethan's wedding is held high profile and luxurious. But why does the bride always look at me? And her eyes still carry a hint of resentment. But I haven't even met her before today. Could it be that Ethan has been talking nonsense about our past in front of her? When I came out of the restroom, I found that Leo was gone. In this kind of occasion, I am a bit socially phobic. Staying with familiar people will make me feel more secure. I really need Leo now. I looked around and finally found him in a hidden stairwell. And Ethan's bride. She was pulling his sleeve and crying softly. I was afraid of being discovered and didn't dare to get too close. I could only hear a few words from Leo. Don't cry. Be careful not to mess up your makeup. I'm sorry. I hope you are happy. The bride cried even harder. Good. 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 His lovers are really more than just that little secretary. I was so angry that my heart ached terribly. My head hurt even more because there were fowls and wild horses running wildly on my greenish head. My heart was in great pain. I walked away quietly. At the corner, I saw Ethan smoking. Why are you here? He smiled. Just like you. Eavesdropping. Did you know about this already? He threw the cigarette on the ground and crushed the cigarette, but with his shiny leather shoes again and again. I just found out. Even more pitiful than me. He's been cuckolded before getting married. I laughed. What are you laughing at? I definitely won't say that because I found someone who is even more miserable than me. So I feel comforted now. It's rare to see young Master Key so frustrated one day. He also laughed. I'll go to the front hall first. There are many people here today to entertain. After taking a few steps, he suddenly turned around. Lynn, I have something in my eye. Blow on it for me. This isn't very appropriate. Don't dawdle. I can't even open my eyes. His left eye kept blinking, and his whole face was about to wrinkle up. It seemed that he was really in pain. I had no choice but to stand on tiptoe, hold his left hand, and blow into his eye. Is it better? He straightened up and happily smiled at something behind me. It's better. My heart was pounding wildly. I turned around stiffly. Leo was looking at me with a gloomy face. Oh no. I don't know how their wedding went because Leo directly pulled me home. As soon as we entered the foyer, he picked me up by the waist. After entering the bedroom, he threw me on the bed. Then he pressed himself on me and held my wrists with one hand and raised them above my head. Stormy kisses fell on my face, lips, and shoulders. His knee forced my legs apart. This posture made me feel very insecure and humiliated. In such matters, he has never forced me like this and disrespected me. I cried. He paused for a moment and then continued to kiss me regardless. He lifted my clothes and bit me hard. I felt his hand gradually moving down. Don't do this. Please. Leo. Perhaps because I cried louder and louder. He stopped. Isn't kissing your childhood sweetheart very happy? Why are you so aggrieved with me? After saying that, he bit me hard on the shoulder. I cried out in pain. Does it hurt? Does it hurt as much as my heart? If I find you meeting him again, I will definitely destroy him. I was very by his bite. The accumulated resentment in my heart urgently needed an outlet. What about you? You are so double-standard. It's not enough to have a lover. You are still ambiguous with someone else's bride. How disgusting. Thinking of those things, I felt like vomiting. It was really too humiliating. I don't want to be with you anymore. I wanted divorce. He seemed to be a little sober. He helped me tidy up my clothes, pulled the quilt over me, and covered me up. I held the quilt and cried nonstop. He gently patted my back. When my crying gradually subsided, he slowly said, "Don't mention divorce again in the future." I ignored him. Who is spreading rumors in front of you? There is no such thing as a lover. He paused. Ethan's bride and I were college classmates before. She did like me before. But I have no feelings for her at all. What happened today is my fault. I made you misunderstand. This will never happen again. Seeing that I was still sobbing and ignoring him, he sighed helplessly and turned me over to face him. I have never had any other woman. Only you. My wife. He gently kissed my forehead. He spoke so sincerely that my heart softened a little. I despised myself for losing my heart so early and sinking deeper and deeper into the quagmire of liking him. The responsibility to the Lin family makes me unable to have the confidence to divorce him. I can only let him hold me and let his kisses fall on my lips and body. 15 It seems that we have returned to the seemingly harmonious life before. I began to deceive myself. Lin, isn't this also good? But when I was sitting in the car, separated by glass and a road, and saw that little secretary holding his arm and bouncing in front of the company gate, I realized that I was indeed too stupid. It turns out that they are so blatant to this extent. I returned home and sat quietly on the sofa in the living room. I thought a lot. About my life abroad before. About the family business. And about my future. Unconsciously. It got dark. Click. The light in the living room was turned on. Why didn't you turn on the light? Only when he walked closer did he find me sitting on the sofa with tears all over my face. He walked over in surprise and sat beside me, wiping away my tears. I looked at him and thought, this is the last time I shed tears for you. Leo. Seeing the indifference in my eyes and brows, he frowned tightly. What's wrong? Has something happened? Let's get a divorce. Leo. I rarely call him by his full name like this. He was silent for a while. Reason? There is no reason. He looked at me for a while and then smiled. Is it because of your childhood sweetheart? You know he ran away from the wedding. He is single now, and wants to continue your relationship? Ethan ran away from the wedding? What does this have to do with me? This person cheated himself. So he thinks others will do such things. What are you talking about? I haven't contacted Ethan for many years. You have a secretary lover. In broad daylight. You don't shy away from being affectionate in front of the company gate. How can you have the nerve to question me? Lover? Secretary? He frowned in thought for a moment. As if he understood something. He suddenly changed his tone, and stopped arguing with me. There is a very important birthday banquet tomorrow night. After it ends, if you still decide to divorce, I will agree. 16 I saw that girl wearing the latest dress. Wearing the bracelet Leo gave her. Holding a wine glass and talking to various business celebrities. Has the social atmosphere deteriorated to such an extent now? Can a mistress be so blatant? She saw me in the crowd and quickly walked up to me. Sister-in-law. You are here. I glanced at her bracelet. She saw my gaze just now. My brother bought me a gift for returning home. Isn't it beautiful? She took my hand and said with a hint of cociousness. Sister-in-law. I was ignorant before. My brother has scolded me. I savored these words for a while and deeply felt something was wrong. A strange thought exploded in my mind. I turned to look at Leo. He seemed to have been watching me all the time. When he saw me looking at him, he showed a very helpless and somewhat secretly pleased smile. I seemed to understand a little. A sense of shame crept up in my heart, and my face also turned red. Leo stepped onto the stage and tapped his wine glass lightly. Everyone quieted down and looked at him. He stared at me and said word by word, I am very grateful that everyone can come. Today, I would like to solemnly introduce my younger sister. I couldn't hear what he said later. I just stared at him blankly as he walked towards me. He put me in his arms and said with a wicked smile in a low voice, Secretary lover? I really want to find a hole to crawl into. I still have to thank my sister. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't know that my wife is so jealous. There is still some soreness in my heart. Why didn't you tell me at the beginning? He cried out in injustice. I told you on the first night when you met Yolanda. I thought hard for a long time before vaguely remembering that on that night when I was distracted. He did mention something about having a different mother but the same father. I buried my head in his arms. But he wouldn't let me. He lifted my chin. Do you still want a divorce now? Wife. What if I say yes? The hand that he was pinching my chin tight and a few more points. Then I won't agree either. I smiled. I hugged him tightly. No divorce. I think I should be a very lucky person. Love is not something that everyone will encounter. But I actually have it. The person I love also loves me. It is even more rare that we can fall in love after marriage. I know that in my marriage with him, there will still be misunderstandings and twists and turns in the future. But these are all small episodes in marriage. As long as we have each other in our hearts, we can overcome one obstacle after another. Epilogue. The first time I saw Lin was on the streets of Paris. He had just finished discussing cooperation with an overseas company. For once, he had time to stroll alone on the street. Lin and several classmates were playing Chinese ancient music. On a rainy day, in a foreign country, the oriental melody coming from afar actually caused ripples in his heart. He stopped to listen. Lin in a red ancient costume immediately caught his eye. She was playing the pipa. She seemed to have just started learning not long ago and made mistakes several times in the middle. But she was not ashamed or embarrassed. She continued to play generously. A drunk white man suddenly rushed over and kicked over the box in front of them. Still cursing, Lin stood up and defiantly cursed back with an F word. She also gave him the middle finger. The white man was still ranting from a distance. Lin picked up the pipa and ran over to hit him. The man was so scared that he ran away directly. At that time, he was standing in the distance and thought, what a vivid girl. Yes, very vivid. Somehow he had a feeling in his heart that they would meet again. After returning to China, he had forgotten about this incident. Until one day, 1 month and 1 year, he was in the office of Chairman Lin to discuss the final acquisition agreement. He saw that girl again. She was wearing a plain dress and looked very quiet, lacking some vitality. He felt that she should not be like this. He felt that she should live a flamboyant and passionate life. After Lin left, he actually said to Chairman Lin, if you don't consider the acquisition plan, we can also change to a cooperation method, such as marriage alliance. After he said that, he himself was surprised. His heart seemed to know what he wanted more clearly than his mind. Extra chapter to Leo's mother died of depression. His mother couldn't accept his father's betrayal of marriage. There was actually an illegitimate daughter in a foreign country. He watched his mother turn from a gentlewoman into a crazy shrew. His father remained unmoved before his mother died. He thought his father should not love his mother. But when he saw his father holding his mother's relics and thinking of her every day, he felt that his father loved her. But if you love someone, shouldn't you care for her? Cherish her and stay with her for a lifetime? He thought that if he had a wife, he would definitely love her well and love only one person in his lifetime. Then he shook his head with a smile. He had decided to stay single all the time. How could he get married and have children? But sometimes fate happens quietly in an invisible place. Everything is the best arrangement. Best arrangement. Best arrangement. Best arrangement. Best arrangement.